What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of GLE. First interview kicking off 2022. I got a special guest today. He's the co-creator and co-owner of Fit in 42. He's a U.S. Marine, father, artist, husband, and general all-around good guy. I'm just getting to know him a little bit. He's helped my wife and I kind of get our good daily health habits back in order recently, and really impressed with him as an entrepreneur and what he's doing with Fit in 42. So I wanted to bring him on, and I think he's got some really good health mindset to share with y'all. So welcome, Casey, to GLE.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Big fan, and looking forward to dropping some knowledge bombs here.
Awesome, man. I'm glad you could make it. So let's rewind your story. You were a Marine, obviously, but maybe go back to early Casey Washack. Tell us a story. Brothers, sisters, mom, and dad. Where'd you grow up? Give us the whole 101.
So I'm a Jersey boy, born and raised New Jersey. I really believe that the path I'm on is because of my childhood. My brother and I, for a long time, were the only family we had. My mom died of a heroin overdose. My dad, alcoholic. We've had 4 stepmoms in our lives. And so there was a lot of commotion. There was very dysfunctional. And for me, the military was my way out. And so I originally like you mentioned, I'm an artist. I originally wanted to go to art school. I got accepted, but my dad was like, how you getting there? How you paying for it? I went to Vietnam for my college education. So I said, all right, very well. I'm not one to shy away from a challenge. So I wanted to pick the hardest route. And that route led me to the Marine Corps.
Wow. Crazy, man. So, growing up with that kind of family environment, right? Like, you said it was kind of like your way to get out was the Marines. Like, what would you say, I guess, to others that might be struggling? I don't know if the Marines would necessarily be the place I'd always want to necessarily run in some of those situations. I don't like what can folks that are going through that these days maybe do, or what would you tell folks that might be going through something like that right now?
So my mentality was, you only have me until I'm 18. And then I get to write my own story. So I could have left early. Like my brother's 4 years younger. He ended up leaving the house at 15 or 16.
Wow.
I waited it out until I graduated and immediately joined the Marine Corps. So what I would say to somebody who's going through that is I felt like a dog, chained to the fence or whatever. And so when I turned 18, the leash was off, and then I got to write my own story. And so that's the way I looked at it. And so what's really hard for me now is there's a lot of people who are still tied to that story, and they hold themselves there. And you know what? I gave you a brief synopsis of my childhood, but I learned a lot of good things from both parents, but I also learned what I didn't want. Mm-hmm. And whether that's me now as a parent. My parents made me the parent I am today because they showed me what not to do. They showed me what I felt. I never want my kids to feel. So I believe it's because of them that I treat my children way differently. And so in that respect, I feel like there's a lesson to be learned in every situation, and that we just need to really not be tied to it. Mm-hmm. And when I had the opportunity to write my own, luckily I wasn't stationed. I'm from New Jersey. I wasn't stationed on the East Coast. I went all the way to California. And so I got to basically write a completely new story.
Sure.
And everything was an adventure. If you will.
I've seen it. You might have seen that meme on social. There's this meme of a guy sitting there in a suit, and then there's a a homeless guy or something, and
Mhm.
they're both wearing the tag, and they both say my father was an alcoholic, which is why I ended up where I am.
Mhm.
And so I think that's awesome perspective. I'm curious, did you have like mentors outside of your parents that kind of helped you see a path, or was it really just sort of I mean, you said you felt like a dog cage. Was it really just sort of the cage dog? I got to get out of here. I know what I don't want to do, but I got to go find something else.
My brother, I'll tell you, my brother did. He had a lot of friends with good families, so they kind of adopted him, so to speak. And he's still close with them to this day. I didn't have that. I was pretty much a loner in that respect. So, but every good thing out of my life I have now is because of mentors, because of whether it's getting into personal training once I got out of the Marine Corps. Well, even my higher ups in the Marine Corps, and just latching on to certain things they said. I'm blessed to be in a field where a lot of the people I come in contact with have done well for themselves in different ways. So I get to learn through their successes. And so it's not just they're coming to me for health and fitness, but they might be real estate investors. And now I get to learn, all right, what are you doing? How are you doing it? What would you say if you were in my shoes? And I mean, that's what luckily I've had all throughout my life. Post.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super cool. I missed some of that because Moose, my camera dog, was barking up a storm, so I had to call him and quiet him down. But
No
so
problem.
coming from the military into the entrepreneur world, let's kind of hone in on that journey and what got you to co-founding, co-creating this Fit in 42 concept. Really unique concept. Being a guy who played a lot of team sports growing up. When I heard about what you were doing, I was really impressed. So share with our audience, what Fit in 42 is all about.
Well, so the entrepreneur, like that didn't just start after the Marine Corps. Like I said, I did learn a lot of good things from my parents. One being my dad was very frugal. And my dad, we would get an allowance, a $10 allowance, but then he would tax it. And he would take 3 back right away. So we knew, and then whenever we wanted something, if I wanted a toy or something, he'd say, well, I mowed lawns, I raked leaves, I shoveled snow, I washed cars. So my brother and I learned early on, if we want more than what we're getting, that's $7, then we need to go out and get it.
Yeah.
So we did everything. And then leading me to the Marine Corps, I had a 7-Eleven running out of my room in the Marine Corps, just because the closest entrepreneur is really a problem solver. Yeah. And Marines are known to enjoy alcohol, which means after a certain point of drinks, they should not be driving anymore. And the closest store on base was over a mile away. Or you can just go to Casey's room and he's got all sorts of food and chili and snacks that you can buy from him.
That's not where the general store started from, is it?
No, it's not. But but I'll tell you, if I know, Bill, if you're knocking on my door at midnight and you're asking for toilet paper, I can pretty much charge whatever I want. So $5 a roll was not unheard of.
Supply and demand.
Exactly. So what I kind of stumbled into the fitness realm. I played sports as a kid growing up, and I worked out in season, when we were supposed to. Outside of season, like in high school and stuff, I really wasn't into like actually physically working out until I joined the Marine Corps, and I had all this time. So I was a machine gunner in the Marine Corps. And if we're not going out into the desert and practicing, like, war, we're off by 5. So what do you do? Like I'm a 18, 19-year-old man. I don't have a car. So I'm saving money, and my 7-Eleven, I have a roommate, he could be running that so I'm like, why don't I take this time to better myself, start working out? I grew up as a wrestler. So I start wrestling on the base wrestling team, start doing jiu-jitsu as well. And then what ends up happening is my unit sees me doing all these things. They start sending me to different schools. They sent me to close combat instructor school. So when I graduated that, I came back, and now I'm one of the instructors for my battalion, which is 1,500 Marines, and teaching them how to fight. But then what happens is, as I told you, if we're not practicing war, it's like college. We're off by, once our everything's done, we're drinking beer, we're eating pizza. And so what the crazy part is, you leave Marine Corps boot camp like a machine. Like you're shredded, you're never been in better physical condition in your life than after Marine Corps boot camp. But then you go to what we call the fleet, which is like your duty station, start doing your job. And now the pizza, the beer, some people are smoking again. You don't smoke in the 90 days of boot camp, but now that habit re-enters afterwards.
Right.
So what starts happening is, as a machine gunner, my job is to get on top of the building or on top of the mountain and just lay down what's called suppressive fire. Basically, make sure the enemy can't keep their head up because I'm spraying my bullets everywhere. That being said, we got this guy who drives by the gym on his bike with his two dogs, and he plays like
music and stuff.
Yeah, but
that's good, man. We keep it real.
Yeah. What ends up happening is a lot of these guys are overindulging with the beer and eating too much pizza, and they're gaining weight, and now they're having trouble getting up that mountain or getting to the top of that building.
Yeah.
So what ends up happening is my unit kind of tells me, Casey, you are going to train these guys during your lunch hour 3 days a week. And so the thing is, there's no extra pay for that. They just took away my lunch hour because other guys are undisciplined.
Right.
And so
I was going to say fat or lazy, but undisciplined covers it.
It's a haze fest. My goal was to make them throw up 3 days a week. But one by one, they didn't have to come back to me.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening was I knew I was getting out. I loved the Marine Corps. I just hated the financial restraints that it had on me. I had to spend my next promotion. I had to spend 4 years at this current pay, which is $1,700 a month. And I'm making more money with my 7-Eleven out of my room than being an actual Marine. So I knew there was something better for me out there. I just didn't know where I wanted to put my energy. And one of my officers came up to me and he was impressed with how I was getting these guys back into shape. And he said, and his exact words were, I don't know what your plan is afterwards, but you're pretty good at this. And that sparked something to where I knew no one was going to pay for what I was putting these guys through in the civilian world. So I need to start learning the science behind what I'm doing, the nutritional aspect behind what I'm doing, and really diving deeper into the science to make this more palatable for a civilian, because these guys were forced to come to me.
Right.
No way somebody's going to pay for this, and so that's where, luckily, once again, the military gave me that outlet because I can do long distance learning while I'm still in the Marine Corps. So I started getting different certifications and started diving deeper into that.
Cool.
Which led me to getting a job as a personal trainer at a gym until my brother and I were ready to open our first one.
That's awesome, man. So you hit on a really important point. And so before we go any further, I want to circle back to it. But if y'all aren't following Casey, go follow him. His website, fitin42.com. That's FITIN 42.com. You can find him on Facebook, Instagram, Casey Washack. And the point you made that I've had this happen in my life from some of my mentors, I really think, and I literally just posted about this the other day, that, the people that mean the most to you in your life, you tend to become what they expect of you or what they think you're going to become. And, I think, as leaders, we really kind of help. We see the potential in people and can help them maybe even pull out potential in themselves that they might not even have had, right? Like this general or your commanding officer or whatever said one thing to you, and that probably changed the whole trajectory of your life. Who knows why, but can you, if you didn't have that conversation, could you see yourself even going down this path?
I didn't plan on it. It wasn't,
wild, right?
It's just something I like to do. It wasn't something that I ever thought of doing as a career. Yeah. And then, literally, it was that conversation. And then it just kept showing up. I mean, right out of the Marine Corps, I got a job at a hospital because I figured, I'm certified now. I don't know where to go, where to start. Mm-hmm. But I figured, if I go into the hospital, I can see all the different departments, mm-hmm. and I can see if something really stands out. Right. But what kept happening was all these different nurses and doctors are like, how do I get rid of this? And, this, and I'm like, I can train you. Yeah. And so just kept coming. And then what ended up happening was I started, just like the Marine Corps, my 7-Eleven, my main job was being overshadowed by my side hustle. Yeah. And crazy. So then it was like, I need to get rid of this hospital job and just go all in on this personal training. Yeah. So I want to jump into Fit in 42. Sure. And, interesting name. When I heard the name Fit in 42, I was kind of like, what's that about? It just kind of like made me question like that. That's not your typical gym name out there. So why 42? Why Fit in 42? What's the concept all about? So originally that wasn't the name of our gyms. All right. So, my brother and I opened our first gym in 2006. In 2010, we've been training these people. And one of the things we hated about personal training is two people can come to us, very similar situations. And for whatever reason, through the exercise, they get tremendous results, right? The other person comes in, same situation, and for whatever reason, they don't. Mm-hmm. They as hard as they're working in the gym, they're partying just as hard outside the gym. Mm-hmm. So too many variables, right? And I hated that crapshoot. I hated the crapshoot of not knowing that, like, how are you going to do in this system? So what I wanted to create was a very systematic approach. Mm-hmm. And where we were located in Southern California, so I got out of the Marine Corps, stayed in Southern California. My brother came out, was the Betty Ford Center. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Betty Ford Center, but maybe. So if your listeners aren't, the Betty Ford Center was in our town. It's a very famous drug rehab center. Mm-hmm. So alcohol and drug rehab center. And basically, a lot of celebrities go there, but basically you don't leave until you change. Mm-hmm. So we have that. And I'm like, where is that for the fitness industry? Where is that place, that like 12-step-esque? So that's one thing. Once again, I told you my childhood led me here. Yeah. We knew that our parents, they were like, they tried to get clean. They tried to get sober. My brother and I don't know how many AA and NA meetings we went with our parents as kids, playing a little football in the back. But we're in this room. We're seeing these people all trying to change. We're seeing them at our house. Right. Then all of a sudden, they start disappearing and the old crowd starts coming back. So we got to understand real quick like, all right, the old crowd's back. Things are about to get tough again. So anyhow, I wanted a 12-step-esque approach to this fitness thing, because what I've realized in the 5 years of owning a gym up to that point was none of this is about exercise. Right. None of it. And so how do I create a community around of like-minded people? But what I also wanted to do was bring in that militaristic approach, like all or none, and your wife who went through Fit in 42, and she did amazing, by the way. She heard me say so many times, like, when people are asking me for a cheat meal during this 42-day process, I say, I always relate it back to AA. I say, when you're drinking a bottle of Jack and then join AA, do they tell you, oh, you know what? You need balance. Have half a bottle now. They say, no, it's killing you. Cut it out. Yeah. So your old habits are killing you. We got to get as far away from them as possible. So the idea is, let's swing that pendulum as far as we can in the opposite direction. And I know after the 42 days, it's going to start swinging back a little bit. But we're going to be way better off than if we were just trying to do this little incremental change that we tend to do and I preach it too. Like, don't try to throw everything out. Try to focus on one thing. The difference is this all-in approach when you have these coaches who see you every day. So the whole idea is trying to build the habits at a rapid rate, like a Betty Ford. It's not an AA meeting a couple times a week. It's you live there. And that's what we were trying to create with Fit in 42 is I want to be top of the mind awareness for these individuals who want to change. Like, they have to see us every day. So I get to ask them what they ate yesterday. And I wrote the plan. Yeah. So if they flub it, if they stutter, I know they're lying, because I know what's supposed to be happening right now.
That team environment pressure, Casey, I think, from my days as a college athlete, high school athlete, right? Like, coaches can tell you stuff all day, but we can touch on like the most important people in your life, expecting things from you. When you're around a group of people that are all doing certain things, there's like, even if you're not doing it and they don't say anything, there's still like an indirect pressure on you all the time, which I just think is super cool. It's a super cool concept. I've been one of those kind of stubborn individuals who's like, man, I used to be fit. I've done crazy diets. My brother and I, did keto and got super skinny. He did a bodybuilding show. I did the whole diet with him. Right. So like, I've been down to like 7-9% body fat. And so it's like, I don't need some trainer, I can do it on my own. I just need to do it. But sometimes, like, I think Gary Vee even talks about the fact that Gary Vee, Mr. Big Entrepreneur, millions of dollars guy, I think has a personal trainer come wake him up and pull him out of bed every morning and make him go work out, because he won't do it on his own. Yeah. And so, sometimes you need that. Sometimes you need that kick in the pants. And it's been, my wife, kudos to her. She wanted to do it. And, I told her if she does it, I'll eat whatever she makes for food. And, I started working out when she was going to the gym in the morning, and it's just been a good habit building lifestyle change, man. I think it's super cool.
Awesome. And, so the caveat to this is, if you like how things are going, then don't change them.
Right.
But if you want to if you're trying to get to another level, and it's in certain cases, like, let go of control and give somebody else the reins. And so that's what we are for a lot of people. And the way I explain it is, we're a part of your team. This is a great podcast. I would imagine a ton of like entrepreneurs and people who are in leadership positions are listening to this, right? So that means they have a team under them. And each individual on the team is a spoke in the wheel trying to help, and trying to further the mission. And we should have that. And this is something I preach inside our four walls, is like, I shouldn't be the only one on your team. My team shouldn't be the only one. You should have an accountant. should have a dentist, should have a doctor, chiropractor. Like you should have all these things. Like you shouldn't be trying to figure out your taxes. You should have somebody, an expert in that you can just throw them some money and boom, and it's taken care of. And you're spending your time not trying to figure it out, but you're spending your time on like your strengths.
Right.
And so in a lot of cases, once again, if you love where you're getting with your fitness, fine. Or if you love like trying to figure it out, awesome. But if you're like, look, so we get a lot of business owners, type A individuals who are like, just for that reason. And that's kind of how I talk to them, is like, hey, I'm on your team now. Right. I'm going to take care of the fitness aspect. I just need you to show up. The hour you're here, I'm going to take care of it. I'm going to tell you what to eat. Or if you need me to contact, like if you have someone who meal preps for you, whatever, I'm going to tell them what you should be eating. Right. And boom, taken care of. Now you could spend your time on your core competency and your strengths, and this is taken care of. So it's really, once again, if things aren't going the way you want them to, or you think there's another level, a lot of times it's the easiest thing to do is just hire it out.
Yeah. I love that mindset. What do you think? Like, I know like kind of stubbornness for me in this one instance, but like you were talking about building a team, it's just been recently that I've thought like that, where it's like, okay, I need an accountant. I need a bookkeeper. I need all these things. I got my yard guy. I got my pool guy. I got, all this stuff that I can do, people do this stuff. It's not, I could mow my own yard, but there's a mentality that comes along with, okay, I'm going to kind of run my life like a business and hire some of these things out. And some people, maybe just like, I don't know. There's like a mental block of like, oh, why would I pay for that when I could do it myself? What do you say to those people as an entrepreneur?
So once again, I have been blessed, especially early on in my career, to have been the trainer for some very, very successful people. And so I was doing the same thing, like asking them those exact same questions. And one of the easiest things they said to me is like, if it costs less than what you make an hour, hire it out. Because then you could spend that hour or whatever, instead of mowing your lawn, you could be working on your business, making more money than that $30 task or whatever it's going to be.
Sure.
So really, I mean, there is a fine line because, I have children. I don't want, I don't want them walking around landscapers, maids, and, like everything's done for me.
Sure.
So there
you want the live-in nanny? You don't got the live-in nanny?
No.
We would love one of those.
Yeah. Who wouldn't? But there is some things like, for example, we took on, my wife was a school teacher for 15 years. And up until almost 4 years ago, that's what she was doing. And then we moved here to Texas, opened up Fit 42. And in that move, we had decided, like, instead of her going to teach other people's kids, she's now going to take on the role of teaching our kids. So that's where she's at.
That's big time.
Yeah. So, but they're like, so now I have to look at it even a different way. I have to look at it as like, should she be like we were talking about a nanny? So like, this is in the back of our head. Like, would I rather her be teaching my children or like mopping a floor? You know what I mean? So,
what's more important?
Well, what's more important? What sort of return can I get on her spending a couple more hours teaching my children, all the things they need, 100%. As opposed to, so I understand it. And believe me, if you get joy out of it, keep it in your life. But if it's between you doing something you love and like mowing the lawn, if that's not something you enjoy, then hire it out. And I mean, also, like, from an entrepreneurial standpoint, from a money standpoint, we're not bringing any of this with us.
Sure.
So spend more time doing what you love.
Right.
And or working on the things that could better your family, your tribe.
Right. Yeah. Knowing why you're doing what you're doing, I think a lot of people miss. They get stuck in the rat race of, I've got this obligation. I got to do this. I'm doing that. I'm doing that. And it's like, why, why? What are you trying to do? Are you trying to just make money so you can pay your bills and go make more money to pay more bills? Or are you trying to, create something for your family and utilize the time God gave you here for what he made you to do? And, I think the investment versus cost mentality is one people get stuck in. They focus on, that costs so much, as opposed to, what is the potential for, it's almost like people that invest tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars in a personal coach, and, they're trying to get to like 7-8 figure plus businesses. Right. So like, if you were going to get an 8-figure business back, would you invest six figures? It seems like a lot. People spend it on college all the time, right? And don't even blink at it. So I want to ask you, so the Fit in 42, it has several different, it's a franchise, right? Is it a franchise business?
We are a franchise. We haven't sold any yet. We just recently finished up all the paperwork and everything. We have we're about to have our 5th location here. We're opening one in South Texas, if you will.
Oh, awesome. Where in South Texas, can you say?
Bellevue.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah. So we are a franchise. We right now they're all corporate owned, which means my brother and I.
Sure.
But
that's awesome. So I got another buddy entrepreneur who's, he's looked into and talking about franchising his business. I've had another franchisor on, Mandy Rowe. She's a franchisor with Float Spas, True Rest Float Spa. If you've ever heard of them or done any floating, that's kind of a cool experience. But what has been your biggest learning experience in franchising a business?
Well, so, this is the, once again, it's the pendulum. When we started out, we just happened to be 2 guys who were good at training and had to learn the business aspect. Mm-hmm. And like you were talking about, like we were just talking about hiring out, things like that. As a business owner, you tend to wear all hats. Mm-hmm. And there's definitely things, and this is why I've been blessed to be in this with my brother, because while we have 2 completely different strengths, mm-hmm. And so he handles the things he loves to do, which honestly, I do not really enjoy. And I get to do the things what I love to do. And so it works out really well.
Cool.
But ultimately what stifles everybody is not building that team, because they're trying to do everything themselves. And the things they're good at suffer because they're spread too thin, but also the things they're not good at are suffering because that's not their core competency. So, so what that really showed me, and what I loved about it, and even if we don't ever decide to sell one, we have every system written down, laid out, and it's a lot easier for us. So this next location is putting the people in place and handing them basically the playbook, which for a lot of small businesses, the playbook's right here. Right. And then a lot of times we're playing catch up. Like after something goes wrong, then we're teaching, like, here's how you do it. Right. So instead, from day one, we got the playbook, here's what your role is. Here's what's expected. Right. Here's how you soup to nuts. Here's how everything works.
Yeah. It's great mentality, Casey. The folks out there, leaders can so easily get trapped in doing stuff themselves. They think, I think there's a stigma maybe too, when you get into a leadership role, an owner type of role where, you need to still be working hard and your people need to see you working hard. And so I almost think there's maybe a fear that people are going to think you're not doing anything, or like, all they do is tell me stuff to do and don't do anything themselves. But, the leader role, it to me is a very distinct role, and there's specific things leaders need to be doing. And I think lots of times leaders can get caught doing things they shouldn't be doing and things they should be delegating, and not doing the things that they actually should be focusing on, which for an entrepreneur like yourself is, how do I grow this business? How do I get it franchised out? How do I continue to, further the vision of Fit in 42, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what happens a lot is, at least in the industry I'm in, most people, unless it's a franchise, but most people go the path I did. I'm a trainer, I'm doing well. The next step for me is actually opening my own. Mm-hmm. And then, but then there's a whole new bunch of skills that you need to learn outside of training.
Right.
Like run a business.
You got to learn them quick too. Otherwise you're going to run out of money.
That's what ends up happening is, a lot of times I will say leaders fall back on what they're comfortable with. Like it'd be really easy for me to take all the training hours here. And it's also, I would say, you got to this position by being great. And the fear is, if you relinquish some control over certain areas, that it's not going to be great anymore. It's not as good as if you were to do it. And
you nailed it, man. That's
good. So really, our role is like, I say this internally, but like my role is not to focus on the clients, it's to focus on the staff so they can focus on the clients and make sure that they're getting everything they need, and that I'm not the bottleneck in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
For them to be able to do their job properly. And that means coaching, that means teaching them, that means continuing education, that means anything with like getting new members in the door, whether,
right.
So that's what I feel our role really is. And so and I think part of it too is we've kind of gone into this, especially, we've been in business now 16 years. Like I moved to Kingwood. I picked Kingwood because I knew it was a good location for what we do. Mm-hmm. And I know the recipe that we want to put in place here. Mm-hmm. So I'm building Kingwood knowing that it's the first of many in Texas. So there's a certain way I have to approach it. Sure. I can't try to be the guy, and right. What I need to do is grow the guy here and make sure that this team is held up, and this team is the Kingwood team. And right. then they could service Kingwood, and they could be the best option for Kingwood. Right. And then I could start focusing on the next one. And so that, I think it's a different mindset than if you were to say, like, I want to open up a gym. Yeah. And then there's no timeline. Right. There's no, I need to have this done by then. I need to get these people up and ready by this time. Mm-hmm. So I believe me, we've been in this spot for a long time. We opened up in 2005 or 2006. Our second gym was 2015. Mm-hmm. Then 16, 17, 19. Right. So it was literally almost 10 years before we opened our second.
Oh, wow.
And so for us, we had that, like, is this it? Is this how we're going to, or is there more? And what do we need to do to get more?
Crazy time to be a business owner through this environment. Kudos to y'all for obviously making it through, because a lot of small businesses didn't. But how did y'all pivot and respond to, some of these, mandates or dictates or whatever we're calling them from our dictatorial leaders?
Well, I will say the thing that we got extremely lucky with. One is our team. So at the time we had five gyms, and so all of a sudden in March everybody gets shut down. So I have 4 gyms in California, I have 1 in Texas. We get shut down across the board. We next day we're on Zoom talking to each other. What can we do? So we had this amazing team of where like, okay, your job is to figure out how to get X, Y, and Z done. Your job is to find an app where we can deliver workouts to people. Your job. So, and then we were able to, we literally had 10 hours of Zoom workouts during those shutdowns because I had the teams in place.
Yeah.
So, which meant, we're in different time zones. So I can do a couple hours here, which are 2 different hours there. And then, their 4 hours they're doing are now 4 different hours. So it worked out really well because we moved fast.
Wow.
We moved fast. And then and then it was, as I said earlier, a job of an entrepreneur is problem solving and really looking at what your customer needs. So we're like, I'm at home with my kids are homeschooled, but I'm listening to some of my close friends, and like my kids are driving me crazy. I'm like, that's it. All our members, which we have a large member base of women as well. Like a lot, I would say like 75% of our gym is women.
Oh, wow.
So, okay, they're stuck at home with these kids. Why don't we do a half an hour's Zoom workout a day just to give mom and dad like some breathing room?
Sure. And
we actually got national press for that. Because we at one point we had like 500 kids on Zoom.
Oh my goodness.
And,
wow.
Like we were theming it out, like, and none of this was unfortunately.
It was a half an hour workout for the kids to give mom and dad a break.
Yes. So I'm a big Star Wars fan. I was all dressed up, as a Jedi, and I created like Jedi workouts and whatnot. And we're doing these live, so I can literally call out kids, and say things. But none of this. One of the things, this was just to give back. Like we didn't monetize this at all. We probably could have somehow, but like the idea was we have all this free time. That means our member has all this free time. And this is the first time in our existence that like we can have everybody's undivided attention. So we did like I said, 10 workouts a day. So like you can't tell me there's not one of those hours that don't work for you. And then Monday, Wednesday, and Friday evening, we would do a seminar on a different topic. We would do Zoom socials. We were Q&As, like just trying to get in front of our people as much as possible, just to keep them sane.
Wow.
And here in Texas, we opened up a lot faster than we did in California, but that definitely switched our model a little bit. Like we've adapted.
Yeah.
And there's so many, and there's big franchises. There's like top 10 franchises that literally, when we shut down, said, we'll just wait it out. Yeesh. And it crushed them. Yeah. And where by the next day, we had things in place for our people.
I think speed, folks like Grant Cardone, Gary Vee, others, they talk about the importance of speed, and just, I think so many people, they try to think through like, okay, let's build this big plan and go do this stuff. And, you hear a lot about like agile software development, project management style methodology, which is a little different style, but, speed from going from idea to, potentially an outcome is just so important, especially with how technology is advancing these days, right? Like you could think through an idea for a year, and by the time you get done with it, it's already outdated. So, moving fast is critical. And another thing you said, Casey, that I just love, and if you're listening, rewind and listen to Casey talk about how he put on these sessions, serving people, he saw a need, they saw a need, their team saw a need in their customers, they served them, with these events, and he dressed up like Star Wars. He made them memorable. And I think a lot of times, and this is something I've been working on as a leader, because I think I can kind of have a serious sort of persona sometimes, and making things fun and making things memorable. Like the best leaders, man, they create memorable experiences for their teams and their people. And so I commend you for doing that, man. That's pretty cool.
Appreciate it.
I'm curious. So I've done keto. I went vegan for almost 2 years. I'm a try guy. I'm a like, whatever, I'll try it. I don't think food's going to hurt me. And as long as it's good, good whole food or whatever. But, keto, intermittent fasting, long-term fasting. What's your philosophy on food, on healthy eating? Give us some mindset from Casey Washack on food.
Well, so the easiest diet is the one that you'll stick with long term. And I think I'll tell you, one of my pet peeves is when people do a diet, but then they switch it, like they tweak things. They never allow it to fully, like they never say, all right, if I'm going like keto's tough. Like there's certain macros you have to follow. Mm-hmm. But like, you know what? That was too hard. So I'm just doing like a modified keto. Then you're not doing keto.
Yeah. It's like a paleo something.
Yeah. Like, so don't like that. I think, for me, so me personally, I'm more of a paleo guy. And it's funny, and a lot of it, like you, I'm a try guy. Like the only thing I haven't tried is being a vegan. And my biggest pet peeve with vegans, and I'm generalizing, I know there's people who do it the way it's supposed to be done, is they just kind of slap that name on their chest, and then they eat whatever they want besides meat.
Yeah. I still wore leather belts, Casey. I still wore leather belts, man.
Your man bun? Did you let that thing flow or what?
Right. No, dude. So there's this guy, John McDougal. You ever hear of McDougal? He's a big vegan advocate, but his big thing was starch. You got to eat vegan healthy, but you got to get good long chain sugars in like rice and potatoes and making sure, lentils. You're getting basically like you got to get most of your calories or most of your energy is going to come from starch, barley, whole good grains like Ezekiel breads, that sort of stuff.
Well, you know what? I'm a big fan of Ezekiel bread.
It's super good.
Let me say this. A lot of my my belief system with food is what I've tried. So one of the things I never mentioned is I'm a survival instructor. So I spent almost 2 weeks out in Alaska, just with a knife and the clothes on my back, and I had to survive. And I'll tell you what I'm not eating when I'm out there is barley, rice, Ezekiel bread,
fish,
birds. There are a ton of dandelion leaves and berries. But I'm not farming. Yeah,
you're not planting food.
No, so that gave me going through that process gave me a real eye-opening, all right, none of this stuff, take us back hundreds of years. None of this stuff that we now rely on was ever available.
Right.
I'm basically, hunter-gatherer right now.
Right.
That being said, I tend to stay away from grains a lot. I'll eat root vegetables like sweet potatoes and things like that. So I would say I'm more of a paleo guy.
So what is paleo?
Paleo is basically no grain. It's one of the things I always say here is if it didn't grow on the ground or have a face, don't eat it. But paleo is non-farming type fruits, vegetables, like no grains. You're not eating grains because at that point like caveman diet, you're still not eating that way.
Sure.
Now, I mean, my big thing is like I'm more of a macros guy. So what my thing is, I'm never going to push things on you. Like you have to eat this way. But I will tell you kind of some of the caveats, some of the things that are happening. If you are eating, certain things that maybe nature didn't intend.
Sure. So what are the big, we're kind of running up on time here. I know I'm going to be respectful of your time. I know you're a busy man. What are like several things? I don't know if you got a handful. What are a few things that people should 100% be avoiding when they're buying food?
Well, avoid all aspartame. I'll just tell you this. You should be drinking water. You don't pour soda in your plants. So why would you give it to you and your kids? Right? So I always say, if you trust it, pour it on the hood of your car.
Yeah.
So, or if you can tell me what it's made of, then have it. Like,
you ever see those videos where they pour like Coke on an egg and it like eats the shell, like right off an egg?
No, I haven't seen that, but I do know that like Coke will like take like lime off the inside of your toilet and things like that.
Oh, geez, yeah, it's crazy.
But so that's what I say. Like, if you can tell me where it came from, like Crystal Light, tell me what it is.
Yeah. Then
pour it on the. Are you willing to pour it on the hood of your car? No, I wouldn't want to damage my car if it's not good. But you'll drink it. Like, you can always get a new car, but you can't do anything
right
for your body. So, really man-made. I'll just go with man-made. Anything sugar-free or fat-free means that they had to replace it with chemicals. So, like, I would rather you eat like whole ice cream, like Breyer's, like old school ice cream, than get some like sugar-free, fat-free chemical concoction.
Right.
Really, I mean, you kind of hit me here. Stay away from farm raised. One of my favorite things to do is pull out like Alaskan salmon, wild salmon, and it's like red, like my shirt. Right. But then you pull out the farm raised salmon, it's orange, and it has color added. Yeah. So like, what color was it before?
Yeah. It's kind of like Subway, how they went around all these places, right? I think you were the one that may have told us that. How like they looked into Subway tuna and like there was no tuna in the Subway tuna.
Yes. Well, they didn't know what the DNA was from. Like, there's no animal on record, not even tuna. Like,
well, and that kind of going back to the whole environment these days, and then we'll wrap up. I think a big thing, Casey, that you've hit on is like, we put a lot of trust in businesses. We put a lot of trust in organizations, and we don't know what their intentions are. We can assume the best, but a lot of times they've proven over and over and over again to maybe not have the best interest of the people in mind. So surrounding yourself with people that really do have your best interest, trusting and building the team of people around you that are looking out for you, that have your best interest in mind, that are heading in the same direction as you, that, want to raise their kids right, want to be good fathers and mothers and husbands and wives, and, take care of their bodies and be successful, whatever that means to you and in your journey. Right. Like, that's just so important. And so, I'm really pleased that we got connected and how you've helped our family so far. And I'm looking forward to the future of where that goes. Before we wrap up, one perspective question I always ask: this podcast was kind of a brainchild of me growing and listening to guys like Gary Vee. I've dropped him like 4 times in this episode, but he always talked about like, how cool would it be if you could see a video of your great grandfather, interviewing people. Like, all we got is like one picture. Now we're going to have like thousands of pictures and hours of video content. So if you could leave future generations with any comments, what would you leave them with today?
what I would say is go after what you want. What you want, not what you think other people want you to want, not what other people think you should do. Go after what you want to do. Don't follow the crowd. Be your own. Don't put yourself in a box. You read off my little things, early on. I think it's on Instagram. All the different things I'm into, like my career is fitness, and I like helping people and things like that. But I have a lot of other interests, and what's cool is they all kind of tend to go back into this like lifestyle. But don't fall victim to falling into one diatribe, one box, and like whether that's politically, because we even found that there's a cool saying that the right wing and left wing are both wings of the same bird.
Yeah.
Whether that's nutritionally, like I am a vegan. That's who I am. Okay, you have no other interests. It could be your sexual orientation. Like you're much more than whatever that one thing is.
100%.
So go out there and as I like to say is like we should be going to the grave on empty. Like I don't want to be well rested when I pass.
Right. I
want to be exhausted. I want to be hobbling to the grave because I gave this life everything I could give it. I took from it as much as I possibly could.
Love it, Casey. Awesome advice. Thanks for coming on, brother. Y'all go follow him. Check out Fitin42, FITIN42.com. You can follow Casey Washack, CASEY, on Instagram and Facebook. Casey, been a pleasure, brother.
Thank you, Phil. This has been awesome.
Take care, everybody. Go lead everything.